Hey guys, welcome back to Black Magic Craft. Plague City still on the table. I'm gonna keep going with this crazy project here this week. Last week I made a lot of progress. I got these all like painted. It was like bulk painting, a lot of spray paint, so I was able to do a lot in a fairly short period of time and feel pretty accomplished. The thing is, I want to do more details. All of the stuff that I still want to do on these is not fast. Like I want to add some little wiring elements. I want to add some washes, some pigments. First, before I do any of that, I want to add a secondary metal color. I want to go in and pick out certain elements of the sculpt, certain bits that are copper. Because, I don't know, copper is just something that goes really well with the Death Guard scheme, and it gives me something to do a verdigris wash on. I really love the way that looks, especially when you mix it with browns and other stuff and get all icky and yucky and gross. I'm gonna use this Treasure Gold by Folkarp. This is the most amazing craft paint that I've ever used and one of the best metallics I've ever used. It covers super well, so I know I can probably do everything in one coat, which will speed up the progress quite a bit. Seriously, this stuff is really good. The only flaw in it is that it's very thick and very heavy, so it's not great for using on a lot of really small minis because it's kind of thick. But for terrain, whew, this stuff's awesome. But yeah, what's actually gonna be copper here? I don't wanna pick something that is too repetitive on these things because I don't want to paint a billion things copper. This is just a little detail. Also, there's a lot of stuff on here, like these pipes in particular and these, that I think look great the way they are. They really did well with the paint scheme, with the little dark iron highlights and the rusts. And to me, they look like industrial piping. I'm kind of looking at, there's some of these ridged sort of tubes. That I think might look really good as copper. It sort of matches a lot of the piping on the Death Guard models. Maybe these ridges, but man, that's a lot. There's hundreds and hundreds of these across the set. But if I keep it to just these sort of pipes that have those coils on it, like those ridged pipes here, then maybe I can get away with doing these if I can paint them easily. I'm gonna see if I can paint these quickly and easily without having to be very deliberate. I think that's the way I'm gonna go. There's also all these pipes here that would probably look good as copper. And I might pick out some of them like here. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna use those elements and hope for the best. And try not to overwhelm myself here because it'd be really disappointing if this whole week all I did was paint some copper. There's good news and there's bad news. The good news is that this actually looks pretty great. I really like the way this looks. It's definitely worth the effort to put on these little other details. The bad news is that it took, I don't know, about 20 minutes just to do these two faces, which means that this whole piece would be about 40 minutes. So in order to do all of these, I expect it to take several hours. All I'm gonna accomplish today is this copper, which is okay. That's fine. I think it's worth it. Well, I definitely spent way more time painting out all that copper than I expected. It legitimately took the better part of 7 hours yesterday to do. I just sat here and painted all these details. It wasn't hard. It's fairly easy to paint. It's just it took forever because it was really repetitive and there was a lot of little spots. Was it worth it? From a distance, you probably don't really notice it. In person, you kind of do. And up close, definitely. I think that little bit of copper gives it a nice pop. It took longer because I decided to paint out all these like wire details with the copper too. When originally I was just gonna do, like these things and, the odd spot, but I painted a lot of different elements with the copper. And depending on the building, some of these used pieces like wall sections that had a lot of these copper details, some more than others. Now I would like to add some verdigris. I like the way the copper looks on this, and I don't want to overdo it and turn it all green and lose that copper. I want to try to make it so that there's a third color in there, that verdigris color, but still also a fair bit of copper. Normally on a model, on all my Death Guard models, when I'm doing some verdigris on copper, I'll use this Citadel Technical oxide paint, and it works great. This is fantastic stuff. I don't want to use this tiny, expensive thing on all these. I want to not use that. I do have this other one from Green Stuff World that's a slightly different color. It's a little bit more green and less turquoise, and I don't like it as much. So I'm thinking about using this just to use it up because I don't prefer it on my models, but I might like it, might be good enough for this. So I might use this. I kind of would like to make my own with oils, but I don't have the appropriate colors in oils to make that. I think it would work good, and I want to go get some of those colors, but I also just want to start working today. I don't want to lose half my day going out to buy paint. So I think I'm going to try this out and just see how it goes. Let's take a second to talk about this week's sponsor. If you're watching my videos, chances are you're already interested in learning new skills and trying your hand at different artistic ventures. While channels like mine are a great place to do that, Skillshare offers a much more structured, ad-free environment with classes led by experts to help you grow whatever hobby or creative venture you're passionate about. There's lots of subjects being taught there that are applicable to miniature hobbyists, painting, color theory, macro photography, and even people world building and storytelling. Lincoln Michael's class, Science Fiction and Fantasy, Creating Unique and Powerful Worlds, is a perfect example of a class that could be applied to those of us creating unique worlds for our friends and families to game in. It's a great investment for creative people looking to refine their art. Now, if you want to just give it a try for yourself, the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click on the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare so that you can start exploring your creativity today. Thanks Skillshare for being awesome and supporting creative people. Just gonna put a little bit on. I don't want to overdo it, like I said. I want some of that copper showing through. I definitely want to have some drippiness, which actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Usually the verdigris would just settle on the copper and not run, but I do like the look here. Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's probably more than I want, but I'm going to leave that spot as a test. And when it dries, I'm going to see what looks best. I'm just going to get this whole side all painted out here, let it dry before moving on to covering this entire build. Yeah, let's let that dry and assess it once it's all settled in. Now that I think about it, I actually have several more of these Green Stuff World effects paints that I never really use. And I'm wondering if I should just test a bunch of them out here and maybe see how they all apply, how they mix. Maybe instead of oil washes on this, because like the recesses are looking pretty good on these. I don't know if they need oil washes. Yeah, let's just try all these out. Turquoise oxide, dark green dust, light green dust. Putting it on kind of heavy. I have a feeling whatever I use, I won't want to be that heavy with. Now we got some of this light rust, which might look good. Give another tone of rust in some of the places I have that craft paint. Then we got gray industrial rust, whoa, just getting. And this is black soot, which I know I want some sort of soot look on some of these spots. I just don't know if this is the best way to do it. And definitely some of these can mix and will look good. Let's mix a little bit of turquoise with a little bit of rust. And I think these mixes are gonna give a better look. Okay, I'm at a really indecisive crossroads. All the stuff I'm doing here kind of looks good, but I don't know where I want to go with it. This verdigris stuff looks pretty decent on there. I definitely think that the proper verdigris one looks better than the turquoise one. That's just a little bit too drastic. So I definitely want to do some of that. And then all of these colors. I don't really like the turquoise one so much, but I do like the turquoise mixed with the rust, giving that greeny kind of slimy look. I like the rust. I also I grabbed this darker rust. That one's okay. But I'm having a harder time committing to this step than I did to the spray paint steps, because the spray paint steps, while it was a lot of painting, it took a lot of time, it was a lot of the same thing, and I just went at it and did it, and that was fine. This is going to be tedious and more kind of artistic and specific, and it's a bit daunting. I don't know if I'll be able to get through all of it in this session. Yeah, this is something I'm struggling with, and I think it's something a lot of people struggle with. You know what? I'm gonna stop worrying. I'm gonna pour out some of these, and I'm just gonna sit back, relax, and I'm just gonna paint. I'm really struggling with this phase of the project. I started out on the first one mixing a bunch of those dusty effects and putting a lot of time and effort into getting the details right, and then tried another one where I just started, slapping on the one color with the brush, just the verdigris, and I realized that didn't make much of a difference. All that extra work wouldn't really contribute too much. And then I realized that using a sponge was faster and kind of easier and still looked about just as good. And then I used a makeup sponge, and by the end of it, I was only doing a little bit of the verdigris, only on some of the copper, dabbing it on with the makeup sponge and brushing it off, and it looks okay. It looks fine, but I stopped partway through. I didn't add it to all of them because, it looks good, but it also looks good when it's just copper. So I kind of made the decision to only do some of them. Essentially the higher ones and the big lower structures won't have as much. I don't think it's worth the effort. I don't think I love it. I don't mind it. The way the copper is placed on these, it makes the verdigris look kind of polka dotty. It's hard to explain. I like the way they're looking so far, and I know they need something more, but I don't know if this is it. I think the next step in painting will be some oil washes. Still not sure how I want to go about that. I am going to do some color painting, like paint chipping and masking on things like the canister and maybe some of the panels. But I got to think about this more. And before I do those washes, I want to put in the wires. I'm going to grab some Cat5 cable and test out putting in the wires, because I want those to get hit with the wash as well. All right, so I got some Cat5 cable here, and the reason I've selected this is because it has a whole bunch of small gauge wires inside one sheathing that I think I can stick inside these pipes to look like conduits that have been busted open. I also like that they have all these different colors. I'm hoping to preserve some of these colors, but to mute them so that they don't stand out and look silly. I'm hoping I can maybe put just an oil wash on them, or maybe clear coat them and put an oil wash. We'll see. Just slide that in, and I can keep all the layers and just glue it in place. Got a little carried away. I couldn't help myself from pulling out the oils and doing some tests. And I started on these pieces and quickly knew that the oils were going to do some neat things. And then I said, screw it, I'm just going to bust out some colors and start mixing them on one of the pieces. And I really like the way it turned out, especially using the yellow kind of ochre color, the yellow ochre color. It really gave a nice kind of contrasting tone to these that looks kind of grimy and gross and just really appropriate. I like mixing things. The plan now is just gonna be to mix up several cups of oils in different colors individually and just go wild mixing them on the pieces. Also, I did the oil on the wires and it didn't quite work too great because they're just a little bit too slippery and they just wipe right off. So I'm gonna hit them with some matte varnish before I put the oils on, and that way hopefully it should give them something to stick to and not wipe off quite as easily, but I'm pretty happy with the way these are looking. The process to continue painting these is gonna be a fun one, and it's gonna be the way I enjoy painting. I'm looking forward to it rather than dreading it. It will not be tedious. Hi. Hi, where are you? This is Masha. She's the new member of the family. Hi. Don't worry, all these oils are dry. I have one of these left as well as these towers, and sure enough, I ran out of thinner to continue the washes. So I actually did go out and buy a really big container of it so I can mix up some more. I'll do this one later. These ones I'm gonna wait because I actually want to do some paint on the tubey thingies, on the canisters, and do some chipping and stuff, so it makes sense to do the washes after. I also bought a bunch of other colors like blues and more kind of turquoisey colors and some purples, and I'm thinking about going back in and adding some other colors because I think the contrast would, you know, be really nice, and I'm really loving like the mix of all these different little stains and colors. It's really looking good. Can you see her? Oh my goodness. The staining looks really nice. I really like the way the greens and yellows look on the floor. I might even do another black wash later to define some of the cracks, but yeah, overall really good. You know, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna hold off on continuing this because I want to spend some time with our new baby girl that we just got yesterday. And also I just got my second shot yesterday, so I'm feeling kind of tired. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button. Let me know in the comments section. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Do it for her. Do it for this little one. Yeah, you want them to subscribe, right? If you want to pick up any tools or supplies for your own hobby needs, head over to blackmagicraft.ca. I've got an essential equipment page where I explain and link to all the stuff I use regularly. And shopping through those links helps support the channel and buy kitty treats. If you really want to support this channel and these videos and help me keep making them, the best way you can do that is on Patreon. I'd love to have you as the newest member of the Black Magic Craft Fellowship. Oh, are you the big monster? Are you the big monster? Let's take away anything yucky you can't touch. These are not good for kitties. I'm gonna have to keep this door closed all the time. Yeah. Cutie patootie.